And welcome back. Our guest tonight is Kale Simpson. He's a hip-hop artist and the original concept of hip-hop, being conscious of your surroundings and presenting that in a very positive way. Not all this crap, look at my chain, look at all these girlfriends I don't really have. He's a real, true hip-hop artist, and he's here to promote his new album, The Big Picture. He joins us now via video Skype. Thanks for joining us, Kale.
Thanks for having me on, Jakari. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, thank you. Now, we got your album. You sent us some albums here at the InfoWar. We definitely appreciate that. A lot of guys have been enjoying them. I've been enjoying the album myself. Can you tell us a little bit about this album and also how you got into music?
Okay, well, I'll start with how I got into music. I originally got influenced by hip-hop culture probably when I was about 9 years old. At the time, I was living in the West End of Toronto, and I remember to get into my apartment every day, which was on the 12th floor, I would have to walk by this group of older dudes that would always be freestyling and ciphering in the lobby. And because I took an interest in what they were doing, they kind of took me under their wing and gave me a bunch of tapes to listen to. And some of the tapes that they gave me just so happened to be of some of the original great MCs. So right off the bat, I was listening to guys like KRS-One and NWO and Chuck D from Public Enemy at like age 9. So, you know, these guys, they weren't talking about meaningless entertainment or mindless subject matter. They were talking about like real life social injustices that were occurring that the mainstream media wasn't reporting on. And they were providing their listeners with like real life street level commentary based on their experience through the music. So that was the original sort of hip hop spirit that spoke to me and that has always inspired me. And when you consider that the world's even crazier than it was back then, that's the same sort of gusto and attitude that I feel people need and that are looking for. So that's the type of music that I'm trying to do now. And then in terms of the big picture, the album that I just released, I started writing this probably about 3 years ago. And, you know, I was basically just very uninspired by a lot of the sort of fluffy, gutless music that I was hearing on the radio and seeing on MTV. And, you know, I felt that it was very detached from the reality of, you know, what's going on in the world. So I wanted to make music that more accurately reflected our time. So, you know, I started watching documentaries and going to websites like Infowars.com. And, you know, I ended up writing a song called Reach Up, which I recently released a video for. That was the first song off of The Big Picture. And you know, that it sort of talks about a variety of issues like economic inequality, government corruption, basically everything. It's sort of a summary of where my album would go, The Big Picture. And so, yeah, we released that. And I just kind of feel like the times has come where people want somewhat of a breath of fresh air, so to speak. So I'm hoping that my new album will be able to provide people with that.
Yes, because we see, you know, what you call the fluffy music, all the soulless dribble that's perpetuated by the mainstream media that's usually out there. You know, we have videos of suicides and sell your soul to the devil and all these demonic symbols and the music now of the days, you know. So what do you think about that? You know, what do you think about the media? I know you're in Canada. Maybe you guys have a little bit of different influence as far as artists. But, you know, when you look at the mainstream and you see the mainstream artists, what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, our media is more or less the same as yours. You know, the Canadian media is basically the American media. There's slight differences and whatnot. So when I look at the mainstream artists, you know, for the most part, I'm not really impressed. They don't really speak to me. I don't, like I said, I don't feel like the gusto and the spirit of the human experience is being accurately portrayed through the pop star artists that are being promoted to the public. So, you know, I feel the opposite. I feel like kind of a sense to dig into information. Like, you know, I kind of view my music as information-oriented, almost like essays, you know, because I'm driven by just getting the message out there. You know, I don't care about money. I don't care about all the superficial stuff. I don't care about being popular, being cool. But I do happen to have an inquiring mind, and I do happen to have this ability to rap that I've had since I was young. And for whatever reason, people do seem to think it's cool, or they respect it, especially younger people. So really, I'm just trying to use my medium to help contribute and to try to help towards making a positive difference. And how I do that is by spreading information through my lyrics to hopefully increase awareness about some of these real issues that are affecting us all, and hopefully provoking thought and inspiring other people to start taking action in their own ways, so that collectively we can start to get some positive social change happening.
That's very well said, because, a lot of people, they see the fight, they think it's all about being on the radio like Alex, or, sitting up here in a suit. It's not all about that. It's about, people doing what they can do. Maybe your thing isn't being on the radio, or maybe not, so much presenting the news, but you can make a rap song, you can make this or that. People have paintings, all types of ways to get the message out that's not just sitting in a suit on TV. So I'm very glad that you mentioned that. And I want you to say, some inspirational words to somebody who may be watching this, and, maybe their thing isn't music, maybe their thing isn't doing a news show, but, how can you tell people to, get the inspiration inside of themselves to go out there and do what they need to do to get this message across?
I would just encourage anyone out there who is awake and who's aware of this information to, whatever your medium is, to not be afraid to stand up, not be afraid to speak out. I know sometimes it all can feel a little bit insurmountable, like you're just a speck of sand on a beach, but the reality is that you can make a big difference on a personal level. The status quo is shifting. There's more and more people waking up every day, and there's more and more people awake right now. So I have a lot of hope in humanity. I have a lot of faith that collectively we can all use our different mediums to make a huge difference. So I would just encourage everyone to not be afraid, find the creativity within yourself and go for it.
Now, there are a lot of issues, Cale, and we have a very short time. But, what do you think is a real important issue, not just in the United States, but around the world today? What is your top priority?
Man, there's so many different issues. And, you can look at each issue separately, and sometimes I think it's better to get a general scope of everything if you can, and be able to connect the dots so that you can start to see all these separate issues as see how they're all connected and interrelated, so that you get a bigger picture view of what's actually going on and how the world is being run. And the way that the world is, being run is essentially we're being controlled. And one of the main reasons that we're being controlled is through the economic system. In the United States, you guys have the Federal Reserve. Mm-hmm. In Canada, we've got, the government borrows money from private banks at interest, which enslaves the nation and puts them in debt, which affects us all. So I would say understanding the money system, if I was going to pick a specific incident or issue, I would say understanding the money system would be one of the top priorities for me. That's why I wrote a song at the end of my album called The Money Song.
Right. It's a very good, informative song, and that's what we need. More positive music. People like Cale Sampson, people like Denali, who entered the Operation Paul Revere contest, people like Steve Grant, Immortal Technique. Conscious rap, a rap with a message, not just look at my chain or look at my cars and all these things that they got on loan anyway. The record company lets them borrow it. So, Cale, tell us how we can get a hold of your music.
If you want to learn more about me and my music, you can go to my website, calesampson.com. Feel free to add me on Twitter at @Cale_Sampson. Make sure to look out for the video that I just released. It's the lead single for my album. It's called Reach Up, which is on YouTube. It's been getting a lot of tens of thousands of views actually in the past few weeks, which is great. And just look out for my album, The Big Picture, which is coming out on September the 3rd on iTunes.
All right, I'm gonna put you on the spot, and if we have to, we can cut it out, but can you bust a freestyle?
I can bust something probably. Throughout our whole lives, we've been made to believe that we're just little people who are powerless and weak, that we're insignificant in the higher scheme of things, but it's a lie. The opposite is reality, so don't believe the false history we've been taught. It's time to talk to our neighbors and turn the television off. Take responsibility for your actions and thoughts and realize the true potential that you've got. Because once you understand the way that energy works, you'll feel connected to each other and the earth. Then you'll listen to your heart when it's speaking to you and start to do the right thing in all that you do. Our collective consciousness has to decide to be in a state of love and no longer comply. So we're fully empowered. Let's step away from the fear and start to lead by example. The revolution is here.
There you go. And that's the best commercial. That's the best plug you can do right there. Kale Sampson, kalesampson.com. Thank you for your time.
Thanks a lot, Jakari.